I'm joined now by JC and Obi, political analyst JC Polanco, who's assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent, and political consultant O'Brien Murray. Obi, JC, just so everybody knows who everybody is.
Little alphabet soup.
So let's start by talking about the mayor's race. Andrew Cuomo running for mayor. Good idea, bad idea? How's it going to play out?
It's his nomination to lose from the polls, right? He's leading everyone else by double digits. So I think it's a win-win for him. He gets to throw his hat back in the ring, try to come back into public service, have an opportunity to wash his hands of any dirt from prior years ago, and it may give him the restart that he so desperately needs in political life.
He's got almost a 2-to-1 lead in the polling as of now. More polling coming out next week, I fully expect. It's going to be an amazing race to see if anybody can catch up with him. He's got the name ID, but anybody who wants to come after him on a negative basis is going to be spending money against the next mayor of New York, and there's not a lot of money on that right now.
But see, here's the question. We know, and he obviously knows, that there are people who are not happy with him. People in the nursing home who lost loved ones who died in nursing homes during COVID, and the women who were involved in the charges of sexual harassment. He's obviously got a strategy for dealing with it, but how much damage can these people do to him and to his campaign?
They can do some very significant damage, but you can't beat somebody with nobody. And what are the issues in this race going to be? He's going to run on being a governor that knows what New York City needs and how to work with Albany. That is unprecedented. In the past, you've always had the mayor's staff and the governor's staff.
Wait a second. Working with Albany. Let's parse that out a little bit, because he has to work with Kathy Hochul.
For 1 year, then she's out.
Well, we don't know that.
She's gone.
She's running for re-election.
She is so inept today as governor. It is amazing.
Well, you know, he's going to have to answer those questions, right? There's a campaign. He's going to have to answer the questions on COVID-19, the retirement homes. He's going to have to answer on the sexual harassment claims. I'm sure his team is prepared to do it. But I got to tell you something. President Trump has rewritten the political book. What once would absolutely destroy someone's candidacy before they announced is no longer going to destroy your candidacy. I think a lot of New Yorkers have become desensitized to negative campaigning, and they may give him the shot to explain himself. Because remember, you do have a guy in the White House sitting right there who has more skeletons in his closet than people in the cemetery up in the Bronx.
Let's look at the reality.
So that's the reality.
But the word I would use is expectations. People know what to expect from Andrew Cuomo. All these issues you're talking about are extremely important and very sad for everyone that went through them. But they are very small on the radar of the voters. What the voters know is day in and day out during COVID, there was one person on TV in New York that everybody watched from home every morning. It was The Apprentice on steroids.
Right.
And that's what Andrew Cuomo has. And they had them they had Andrew Cuomo in their house every day during COVID when they were stuck. He was their lifeline to what was going on in the state, into the city, and that's what they're going to vote for.
Marsha, he has universal name ID. That's for sure. And another thing, look, he's a centrist, so he shares a lot of the same voters than the current mayor currently has. We know that.
Is that a plus or a minus?
That's a plus, especially with ranked choice voting. But get a load of this. Progressives in New York City. He was the governor that signed the law that made marriage equality a reality in New York. He gave the progressives everything that they wanted. No. But I'm talking about progressives who want to attack him. He'll be able to look at them and go, you want to look at every single criminal justice piece that you wanted? I signed those. You want to talk about marriage equality? I signed that. So progressives have their candidate. At the end of the day, they can't attack him on the issues, and he'll have the centrist voters.
He gave them bail reform. He gave them congestion pricing. He gave them same-sex marriage.
People are not going to be happy about congestion. And by the way, he changed his position on congestion.
By the way, and who's not going to be happy on them? Who's not going to be happy?
Some people don't like congestion pricing. You may remember that.
But no, I disagree with it. I've sat here and said it shouldn't be there. But the progressives in a Democratic primary are going to care that he gave it to them. Even though he's against it today, he was for it before. The messages in this race are going to be straightforward. They have 3 messages to give: a cleaner city, a safer city, and a city that gets back in its finances.
I want to tell you something. So the other day I had a conversation with Gail Brewer, former Manhattan borough president, now a city councilwoman. She was a city councilman before that. She's been a long history in politics on the Upper West Side. And she said to me, you know what's really amazing? I live on the Upper West Side, which is the bastion of progressive politics in New York City. And she said, everybody on the Upper West Side wants Cuomo to be the mayor because they think he can fix things.
Right, that's a projection he gives off. He gives off the guy, I'm from the outer boroughs, I go toe-to-toe with the president, I'm your guy.
But that's the thing. Will he go toe-to-toe with
I think he can absolutely. We've seen him go toe-to-toe before with President Trump. We've seen, this is not new. We've seen him. And I think New Yorkers want to see that, and so do the Democrats. They want to have a tough guy go up against the president. You're lacking that throughout New York.
What this Democratic Party needs, though, and the question is what Andrew Cuomo can do in a primary versus as mayor, we need someone to work with Washington. Joe Biden did nothing for this city when Eric Adams went there and asked for it and begged for it, and he turned us back. And I sat here on this set, and I said immigration was going to be a problem. 2 years ago, I said the ad I would run is, look what Joe Biden did to New York. He'll do the same thing to you out where you are across the country. That is going to be the question. What mayor, to be successful after this election, is going to work with Washington, and it happens to be Donald Trump as president? You want to fight him, you fight him, and you're not getting anything
we're not talking
back.
about fighting for the sake of fighting. We're talking about standing up to him when you need to stand up to him. And the truth is that that's one of the issues that the current mayor has.
But see,
the current mayor can't do that, Marsha.
The Democrats, as to this point, I think, haven't figured out a way to deal with Donald Trump.
And they won't. They won't because they can't read the room.
But can Andrew Cuomo figure out what the secret sauce is for dealing with him when he has to deal with him and fighting him when he has to?
He's done that before. He did that before. That's what's important.
But that's not the guy we need for New York.
No, when he needs to fight, Obi.
JC, we need the person that's going to achieve things for New York, not just pick fights.
Of course not.
Pick the fights you can win and not go after them just for tit for tat. Right now, the Democratic Party has no national leader. They have no national voice or message. Orange man bad is not the message. And what they're doing right now is they cannot fight against these spending cuts. The previous president, under the Democratic leadership, had 0 cuts.
So let me ask you this question. Should Andrew Cuomo become the mayor of the city of New York, would he become, by default, the spokesperson for the Democratic Party nationally?
I think so, Marsha.
And become a national figure, just because it seems like there's not a lot of opposing Trump coming out of Washington from the Democrats in Washington these days.
By default, he will become the leader of the party nationally. There's no question. I think Hakeem Jeffries continues to be the leader of the party nationally, but I think with a Mayor Cuomo as leading the city, he by default becomes a leading figure.
I agree with that.
I think he has the opportunity to. I think he's better off giving it to Jeffries and let Representative Jeffries become the next majority leader for New York, because Chuck Schumer is not going to be anywhere near leader for at least 4 years at this point. Andrew Cuomo can have that with the pulpit he has in New York, but he's better off not fighting Washington. He's better off fighting for New York. That's going to be the question.
And I wonder, Marsha, we're talking about Cuomo. There's a lot of other candidates running. What happens after he announces?
That's the next question. So Adrian Adams, the council speaker, is preparing to get into the race. How does that change the calculus of the campaign?
Well, it could. If the black Democrats in New York City coalesce behind the speaker and mobilize for her and provide her with the infrastructure that you need in order to win a primary, this gets very interesting, because remember, Speaker Adams and former Governor Cuomo share a lot of the same base.
Yeah, so does she take away from him and prevent him from winning?
She absolutely can take some away from her. And I think it's important to note that 3/4 of all Democrats that support Adams would support Cuomo in the ranked choice. So it's very similar in situation.
And therefore, with Speaker Adams getting the race, oops, wrong name. The voters will have a tough time differentiating between Adams and Adams. I'm telling you right now.
So does she take
it's a
votes
negative.
away from Andrew Cuomo?
No.
Really?
Nope.
I don't see how she doesn't. I mean, she's going to be a formidable candidate if she announces. I know it's tough with just a little bit of time left, but she's the Speaker of the City Council. She'll have a lot of support. We've seen Attorney General James come out to support. She's going to have a lot of support across the city. To just immediately say she has no shot, I think that's crazy.
I do not see a way where she has a path to victory whatsoever in this. And another box of cigars?
No, I'm not doing that. No box of cigars.
She doesn't have a path. She has the wrong last name. She's starting too late. Andrew Cuomo is way out in front of any of this kind of stuff. And what's the history of the Speaker of the City Council doing anything for higher office? In the middle of this, she has to lead New York through a budget negotiation with Mayor Adams.
It's tough.
What's more important?
It's tough.
About 15 seconds. Go ahead.
I think it's very tough for the Speaker to have a shot at winning, but she will be a formidable candidate for me.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversations continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York, and it'll be real interesting. We're back with the boys, OB and JC. So here's the question. With all these new candidates in the mayor's race, Adrian Adams, Andrew Cuomo, what happens to the other people who've been running? Do you think that some of them may have to drop out?
They will. You know, money's limited. And a lot of folks are going to see that former Governor Cuomo is leading, as you mentioned a little earlier, double digits in the polls. They're going to have to put their money where there's a winner or a chance to win. Nobody's throwing money in the wind. And you're going to see as the money dries up, more and more people are going to drop out. It's just inevitable. This is going to become a 2 or 3 person race very soon.
The polling will show 2 or 3 people. No one's dropping out. You know why? Matching funds. Our tax dollars are already put at work. They will not. They're going to be on the ballot. They'll get through the petitioning. They'll have matching money, and they'll be on the ballot. No one's going to be dropping out.
But my argument is about the money. The money's going to dry up. Is what I'm saying.
Brad Lander, who if he doesn't, he's giving up his job as controller, and if he doesn't win, he doesn't have an office.
They didn't get a job, like everyone else should be doing. So he's elected officials out of work. Oh my God.
You know what? That's not a bad title to have on your resume on LinkedIn. City Controller of the City of New York.
And how much did he lose? Pretty good. And how much did he lose this year?
Oh, I don't know how much he lost. I don't know about that, but he's very well known. He's very well liked by a lot of parts of the city. He'll be fine if he doesn't win this primary.
Let's make this clear. The Bronx, where you know and love and I love too, he came in 3rd running for controller. Okay. Make that clear.
All right. So I want to change the topic because you've said very definitely that Kathy Hochul is not going to get reelected governor.
Yes.
But here's my question. We've seen a change in Kathy Hochul over the last couple of weeks with her, I call her Rambo Kathy, as she's now gone toe-to-toe with Donald Trump on congestion pricing and other things that he's tried to cut that will hurt New York State. Do you think this change of persona, this hard-driving woman, will be able to change the voters' opinion of her as she goes into the election campaign?
She's now put her aptitude on steroids. What she has done now, she is going after the mayor of New York, which is going to only help Andrew Cuomo get elected mayor.
She didn't remove him.
But not only that, but what she's trying to do is she's trying to overstep her bounds and limit the powers of the city of New York for the mayor.
But it's not even going to pass in Albany. Nobody wants to do it.
Another failure which shows her ineptitude.
So let me tell you what I think. And I think if you could give me just a few seconds. The governor had a lot of coverage. She could have removed the mayor. She could have removed the mayor. The mayor had 30 days to appeal. I think she had every reason to remove him. And I like the mayor, and he knows that. But I think in this case, considering that you have a motion to dismiss without prejudice, this is very concerning. Because at any point, if you don't do as I tell you to do regarding the issues of immigration, I can bring these charges back. That puts our mayor, whom I like.
He says there's no proof.
No, but you could say.
He says there's no proof.
But listen.
Can't we believe him?
No, but
yes,
it's not about believing. It's not about believing the mayor or not. Look, I tell you, I like the guy. I supported the mayor. Let me finish. The fact is this: you have a quid pro quo on paper. You had 8 attorneys in the U.S. District, the U.S. Attorney's Office resign because of the quid pro quo. Time out. You had 4 deputy mayors resign because of the quid pro quo. You had many elected officials call for his resignation. The governor could have gone toe-to-toe with Donald Trump and say, I'm removing your guy.
Obie's ready to explode.
I know, but let me finish. You've been exploding before I said let me finish.
I didn't say a word.
But
I just gave you a look.
Look. You have 30 days to appeal, but the governor could have gone toe-to-toe with the president, removed the mayor, and let the mayor explain why he shouldn't be removed. But guess what? President Trump issues a dismissal without prejudice, and as of right now, she backed down and she didn't remove the mayor.
Another example of the governor's ineptitude. She brought a bunch of African-American leadership to the governor's office to talk about politics. What she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have taken away the powers. She just shouldn't have floated this out there that she might get rid of the mayor when she wasn't going to do it. Another failure for this governor.
Wait, why do you think she decided not to remove him?
Because she's got no guts.
Well, I don't know if she has guts or not. I think it was a mistake. I think politically it was a mistake.
This governor got elected to Congress in a special election. She knows what can happen in a special election. She does not want to give Andrew Cuomo the mayoralship any sooner than she has to.
No, you were not going to get a special election. You were not, because it was going to happen after March 26th.
But the reason they didn't want a special election is it cost a lot of money.
It was going to be at least $30 million.
$30 million.
Yeah, it was not going to happen. You were going to have a very seamless transition. But this is it. The mayor has not been found guilty of any crime. The mayor's entitled to a presumption of innocence and the rest of that. He had 30 days to appeal. He could have appealed and said, this is why I should not. It was not a quid pro quo.
JC,
look at the information.
She knew all this before she touted everybody out in her office for a meeting in called them there, number one. Number two, the deputy mayors that resigned, if I was the mayor, I would fire him tomorrow. You don't threaten to leave me. You leave me or you stay. You stand by the mayor and you serve the city of New York and the New Yorkers and the mayor. You do not choose to leave the mayor when he decides to talk to Washington about anything whatsoever.
It's not that. Obi, listen, Obi, hold up, Marsha, hear me out. I was here and I explained to you, getting rid of ICE from the jails was a mistake. Guess what? The mayor supported keep getting ICE out of jail. Hold up. The mayor supported, listen to this, non-citizens voting in municipal elections. He signed that bill. The mayor was the one supporting for worker permits for people that were here undocumented.
You're making the point that the mayor should be reelected.
I'm making the point that the mayor was Mr. Oh Kumbaya pro undocumented immigration until you give him the dismissal.
Is there a world where the mayor can actually beat everybody?
No, I'm telling you that the mayor was in favor of all of the most progressive, crazy things about undocumented immigration from every one of them. And now all of a sudden he's MAGA? He's only MAGA because of this dismissal without prejudice.
He is New York City first.
No, I wish that was the case, but when I was begging not to allow non-citizens to vote, he signed the bill.
No, he's for New York City,
No,
period.
is non-citizen voting in primary in New York City elections, is that pro New York City?
I don't think
he signed the bill. Obi.
I understand, but that's what he did.
Obi, how do you sign that bill and become MAGA the next day?
Because
with a dismissal without prejudice.
Let's remember this. By the way, if he had vetoed that, what would have happened? The city council, the communist in there, would have overturned his veto. We know that would have happened too.
I'm upset.
So are you saying
not
that
with me,
Eric
please?
No, not with you.
Has a chance of keeping his job?
I don't see a path right now. I just don't see it.
The mayor is innocent until proven guilty. Period. And he has not been found guilty.
But how does it get the path to being elected mayor?
It's going to be very difficult, but I'll tell you this. He's still the incumbent. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of name recognition. And we don't know what's going to happen in June.
So what's going to happen is when Andrew Cuomo gets elected mayor and win the primary in June at this point, he becomes the de facto acting mayor, even though he's not elected, okay? The governor's going to decide what she wants to do and how she's going to work with him. He had 6 months to organize. He was already in the governorship. He's going to run circles around her from City Hall, and she's going to be dead woman walking, and she's done. Her own lieutenant governor is leaving, and she finally cut him off.
That's my next question. So, the lieutenant governor, Antonio Delgado, has made it clear that A, he's not going to run with her for re-election. Number one, he made that announcement. And two, he's ready to run against her. Here's the question. She knows he's going to run against her. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. But was it a good move or a bad move for her to take away 3 of his offices, physical offices, to take away all of his electronic devices, and to reassign his staff?
Bravo. She should have done it sooner.
Okay, so that means that she's showing.
She has to show some.
But the point is that she is so weak.
He monopolizes
up in Albany.
the time always. See this?
But she's so weak up in Albany, right there on the spot. It's showing the lieutenant governor doesn't believe in her. And by the way, it shows how ungrateful this lieutenant governor is too. She picked him, and now he's turning her back on her.
Look, this is an opportunity for her to show strength. And if you don't do that, what happens is that you're allowing for the resources of the governorship to be given to your lieutenant governor so that he can use those offices to increase his name ID and then run against you. On what planet? This is her fiefdom, she says, and I'm taking these things away from you. Now, as far as the governor making...
Wait, let me ask you a question. So by taking away these things, and giving him less of a platform, I mean, he can raise money on his own. By giving him less of a platform, does that make him less of a threat when she runs for re-election?
I don't know if it makes him less of a threat, but it makes him much more independent of her. And that's what New Yorkers, I think a lot of New York Democrats, as I speak to them, they want to see some strength. They want to see somebody say what they're thinking, and they're seeing that with the lieutenant governor.
The lieutenant governor's got one job: to check the pulse of the governor every day. The second job he gets, though, is when she's not in New York State, he gets to have fun. So if she goes and visits her family out of the state or goes to Washington, all of a sudden, lieutenant governor's taken all the power from, becomes acting governor for a short amount of time.
Yeah, but it could be hours.
But what is he going to? He can sign executive orders that she'll have to undo. If I was working for lieutenant governor right now, even though he's ungrateful and I wouldn't do it, I would have a field day being acting governor. I could do so many fun things. I would do proclamations signed by acting governor. It would be a blast.
But this is what's interesting, I think. There's going to be a crowded primary for governor next year. You have Congressman Torres, you have Delgado, and you have Hochul running in there. It's going to be interesting.
How about that? Torres versus Delgado. What do you think?
I think Torres is going to do very well. He's my congressman out in the Bronx. I think he's going to do very well in the primary. And he has a lot of support from places that you wouldn't think the congressman out of the South Bronx would have. He has a lot of Jewish support across the city, a lot of young Latino support.
Very, very pro-Israel.
Very pro-Israel. And I think he's going to be interesting. Now, how does he go out? How does he go out to Binghamton? How does he go out to Syracuse and try to gain some support from there? That's what I would like to see.
75%, and I looked at the numbers again, Marcia, to make sure, of the vote in the Democratic primary is from the Hudson Valley to Nassau County. He doesn't have to travel that far upstate. Tish James did not know what a garbage plate was. We had that before.
Is from Hudson Valley.
Right.
Right, and look how that worked for Sean Patrick Malone. Look how that worked for Teachout when she ran. The two of them, when they ran before statewide, it didn't help them. So what you have now, right now, Richie Torres is going to run on the center to the left. You have Delgado running the far left, and the governor is trying to go over there on the left as well. So what you have right now is if the governor wins the primary, she's going to win it with 40%. That's it, which means that Lawler becomes the next governor. It's either going to be Torres, Delgado, or Lawler as the next governor.
So let's play this out. Say she loses the primary to either Delgado or Torres.
Yep.
So does Lawler even get in the race?
Lawler does get in the race.
He will already be in the race at that point.
Yeah, Lawler would be in the race.
But maybe he decides not to run. Look, the guy's 38 years old. I've talked to him. He likes his job in Washington. He's got plenty of time to run for governor. Why does he have to run now?
Because there's no time like the present. This is one of those times where Governor Hochul, if you look at her numbers in the last election cycle, she barely won. And right now you have, after the last presidential election, more and more parts of the city voted Republican more than ever before.
And more people have turned independent.
Independent. And he has a shot.
Lawler cannot win his re-election. That's going to be his challenge. And midterm of the presidential, that seat's going to go to the D's, number one. Number two, he's going to be in the Republican primary, if anyone else is in it, but the Republican primary and Democratic primary in June, a year and a half from now, that will determine who Lawler runs against. If Delgado or Torres win the race, it takes away his reason for running and eliminating Delgado, Hochul rather. And if Hochul wins,
could he still win?
If he can beat Hochul, but not Torres or Delgado.
He can't build. Why not?
Because there's no reason to run. They have already gotten rid of Hochul and all their failures.
No, I don't know, because remember, Delgado is very progressive on his positions. And New York is a centrist state. It's ruby red outside of New York City. And New York City is voting more independent and Republican than ever before. I think Lawler has a very good chance against Delgado. Look at the position. Torres? I think Torres has a very good chance as well to win. And I think
but if it's a Lawler-Torres,
this is going to be the thriller in Manila in November, because they're going to fight hard, and they're going to fight over the center.
They're both young. They're both well-spoken. They both have good positions on things. You said Torres is good on Israel, so is Lawler.
Yeah.
I mean, they both.
Lawler is trying to separate himself from the president when he can. He is embracing him when he has to, and when he can, when he needs to, and he's also separate himself. What'll happen is he'll be tied to Trump as much as he can, and the 5 boroughs of New York are 50% of the vote in the general election. That's what's going to have to happen.
I think Lawler's going to do very well in November, and I could see Lawler winning, considering how Hochul almost lost his last election cycle.
There's a bet here.
You think he can beat Hochul?
Who?
Right? He can beat Hochul, yes.
Mike Lawler?
Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely. Can he beat Delgado or Torres?
Yes. Absolutely. No
There's
question.
A bet.
That's my point.
But there's no question.
I don't think he can beat the two of them. Only he can beat Hochul. That's all. He cannot beat Torres or Delgado.
Okay. I think Lawler would be an interesting candidate, because I think he'd do well, and I think he'd do well in the city. And I think he's going to do very well in Long Island. And I think that Delgado is very progressive in a New York state that's becoming more centrist.
Marcia, how many people have run for governor and won every county but the 5 in New York City? It's happened more than once.
I remember a time when Mario Cuomo ran, and he was losing up until the city vote came in, and he actually only won with the 5 counties of New York, and I think he won Monroe and one other one. He had 7 counties, period, out of 62.
And George Pataki won because he picked up Erie County, where Hochul's from at this point. But Hochul is doing terrible in Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk, and she's going to have a problem in New York City when she runs against Torres at this point, and Torres and Delgado.
You don't agree with that?
No, I think any one of those candidates can run, but I disagree with you in the position that Lawler can be Delgado. I think you're absolutely wrong on that, considering the positions and how New York is voting recently.
Delgado's going to fold like a cheap suit.
And on that note, we have to say goodbye. Thank you both for joining me. Thank you at home for joining us as well. And as usual, a very spirited discussion.